I would have taken that double myself.
Welcome back to James Bond Aficionado. Today's guest is none other than Bud West of the Bond Brain. You may have heard him on iTunes, Spotify, and Anchor, who distributes his podcast. Welcome, Bud. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
You know what? It's about 2 o'clock my time, and I know it's 5 o'clock on the East Coast.
Yep.
You know what? I can't complain, so.
Right.
Bud, let's jump into the topic of how did you get introduced into the James Bond universe?
I don't really know. It kind of hit. I can remember going to see like Octopussy when I was a teenager, and didn't really like it, and I thought it was kind of odd. Yeah, and so much so that like when A View to a Kill came out, I didn't go see it. I don't. Maybe I was too young. Roger Moore was too old, or something like that. Years later, when The Living Daylights came out, I'm a little older. Timothy Dalton's a little younger, and I was working in a movie theater at the time, so you saw everything because they were all free. And I must have watched the movie in the theater like 20 times, but and I got hooked. It was a bad time to get hooked because 2 years later, then we have this, 6-year gap. But that was it right there. It started with The Living Daylights, and then eventually went back and rewatched all the old ones. And now I love Octopussy. I don't get it. It must have been the age, man.
It's the circle of life of the Bond universe, I guess.
Right.
So, but for anyone that has not stumbled on your iTunes, Spotify, and the Bond Brain for that being, tell us a little bit about it, if you want.
No, it's just me talking about two hobbies, really. I play a lot of strategy games. I play a lot of chess. I like challenging the mind. I like exercises in that method. And after watching all these movies for years, it just occurred to me, Bond is a game player. He's playing baccarat and poker and backgammon, and there's all kinds of other games and mental challenges throughout, the films. And that's even when he does battle with, whoever the bad guy is. I always like when they make Bond more intelligent, and, he has that intellectual confrontation, or like the Madagascar chase scene. I love that chase scene because, obviously the guy he's chasing is much quicker and more skilled at running through obstacles than he is. So he uses things from the environment, the bulldozer and the crane, and it's just, for some reason, that's the stuff that resonates with me. So that's where I went with the podcast.
Very nice. I agree with you. I love the fact that he has all these intellectual skills and he uses them to get out of, like, wiping Le Chiffre at a poker table. But we all know that in the book, it's baccarat, and his game was baccarat for several years.
Right.
And then we've seen him play blackjack and License to Kill, backgammon, and Octopussy. He's a man with so much knowledge behind all of this. So, and people don't realize that in Fleming's portrayal, he had to use those types of skills to get out of the situations he was. It's not all about action. It's not all about shooting the kill. It's how he was using his knowledge at the table, like baccarat and Casino Royale. He had to wipe out Le Chiffre by playing baccarat to recover the money.
Yeah, they're the parts, and actually you touch on the books, and I actually prefer the books to the movies. I mean, I love the movies and I get excited for them, but I constantly reread the books one after another and just keep starting over and going back. Some of the continuation novels, not all of them.
Right. Out of the Fleming books and the continuation, which one would you say is your favorite?
Actually, as low as I rank the movie, Moonraker is probably my favorite novel. I think it's just really well done. The story's really good, and they have the flavor of the story in the movie. But the whole space shuttle thing, and they just, I don't know. It's like they were competing with Star Wars or something.
Yeah, and I think if you watch the behind the scenes of the movie, because you can't watch behind the scenes of a book.
Right.
Yeah, they mentioned that they were competing with Star Wars because Star Wars was the big blockbuster movie that was launching. So, and I think that's why they decided to take Bond fully up to space.
Right.
So that I could see a lot of people liking Moonraker. So I don't think you're the only one that stands on that. And then on the standalone books or the continuation novels in your aspect, which one stands out to you the most?
I've been really enjoying the last couple. Anthony Horowitz, the John Gardners, I just couldn't get into. I actually gave up on them, so I've only read about half of them. I didn't like Bond driving a Saab, and I don't know why he had to give a funny name to the female replacement for Q. It was like Q apostrophe UTE, cute. I don't know why she just couldn't be Q if she was in the job. I just thought they were really strange, and I gave up on them. The Raymond Bensons were really good. And Anthony Horowitz. I did not read the one where he's supposed to be married and called back to service. I'm not sure who that was. Maybe that was Jeffrey Deaver. I read the back jacket of that one, and I thought, I don't. I like a pure Bond. He's going to go on a mission. M sends him. So.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Let's talk about Operation Snowfall. You just got back. And you finally got to meet some of the community members. You haven't been involved for that long, but you got to meet the likes of Joe Darlington, David Zaritsky, Harris Thomas, Jeffrey Weibo. The list continues on that. And you also got to see Skyfall in concert, which I'm absolutely jealous on all aspects. So tell me what your experience was like meeting those gentlemen, and how was the Skyfall in concert?
Meeting those guys were absolutely great. I mean, up till now, the only guy I have ever met is Ray Crumpler, and I really don't live very far apart. So we had met for beers, and Harris Thomas, Joe Darlington, I had conversations with those guys, but I had never met them in person. But flying out of the same area, we actually ran into David and Harris in the airport. So we all ended up in the same flight. And I had touched base with those guys ahead of time, asking, hey, where's everybody staying? Figuring there would be gatherings in those hotels. Everybody was absolutely awesome. It was almost like a cigar lounge experience for me. I go to a local cigar lounge. I try to hit and find one when I travel. I prefer to sit in there than a bar. I certainly like cigars, but I don't go to the lounge for cigars. I can do that on my patio.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So when you go to a lounge, it's just about the people you meet and the conversations that you have. And everybody was absolutely fabulous. Wonderful people. Harris, Joe, David, Bespoke JB, John Broughton was there, Sartorial Bond. The list is long. And even people that don't necessarily have YouTube or podcasts, but some people who you see comment a lot on Instagram, Jerome Crowell, JC_Skywalker, Iron Rider, I think it's 883. He's got some numbers after that. Randy and his girlfriend. And it was just cool to really get to just hang out. And we didn't even really talk Bond all night. I mean, Edgar and I from James Bond Complex talked soccer. Matt and I were talking about books. It's really, a Netflix show. And just really, really nice people. Jeff Weibo, I think, was the one who lined up, the pre-cocktail party, Skyfall itself, the post. As far as the movie, I actually never got to see Skyfall in the theater. So it's always been Blu-ray for me. I have a very hot and cold job, and at that time, my kids were younger. Work was really heated up, and we never actually got to the theater. So that was really the first, theater experience. But man, if you ever get a chance, anything, any other movie series that you like, Marvel or Star Wars or Harry Potter, whatever it is, take it in. It was very, very, very unique, and I'd go do it in a heartbeat again.
Yeah, and I keep on, well, and the fact that you say you got to take it in, especially when it's a concert like series with any movie. I'm in Portland, Oregon, and I look to see at our local big theater to see if there's, well, I know Harry Potter's run numerous times.
Right.
And of course, The Lion King. The list goes on, but I have never seen any Bonds, and I keep on like, oh, I hope one day a James Bond film has come. And then, you see Canada. Well, first off, Montreal is going to be having Casino Royale soon. Toronto just had Skyfall, and I'm like,
right.
If I didn't just have back surgery, I probably would have busted out my passport, since it's been sitting on my desk since I got back from Calgary last year ago almost, or 2 years almost. And I was so tempted to be like, I'm heading out the door.
Right.
It was looking like it was, and I still have a lot of Canadian money left over. So I was like, all right, I could have definitely took this in. I would have, just the fact that everybody looked like they were having a blast.
It was just a very very cool night, and they actually kept going. My wife and I ran out of gas around midnight, but I'm pretty sure they were out till 2-3 in the morning. So the party never really stopped. And Toronto, it was a great city, and just what an event. I'm actually upset that Casino Royale is so soon after. I would have really loved for that, 4 months or 3 months later. I would have loved to have been up there. Would have loved to have been able to meet Emery from the Intrepid 007 podcast. And
yeah, and I think personally, Casino Royale has a more beautiful score than Skyfall, actually.
I prefer, I like both of those movies. I love them a lot. But Casino Royale, I agree with you. I think is a little better score and a little better movie.
Absolutely. So, No Time to Die is sneaking up on us faster than we think now, since we're almost a month out.
Right.
What are your impressions from all the trailers that we have gotten? And of course, Cary Fukunaga just did his little mini vlog. What are you feeling?
It looks pretty good. I love the scene with the Gatling guns when he does the burnout and fires, and then Cary Fukunaga's piece. I love when it's that same scene and he zooms in, and I like all the little details, like all the spent cartridges ejecting out of the side of the car. I thought that was really cool. But with his voiceover, it seems like the guy is a Bond fan and a director, and he's getting a chance. Where in other cases, I didn't feel like the people who made the movie or the director at that time was really all that into Bond. He sounds like he's very versed in the series with the voiceover for that. So I'm pretty psyched. It looks like there's a lot of action, and they tie a lot of things up, and then we go into full speculation mode for who's the next guy.
It's now got the official runtime at 2 hours and 47 minutes.
Right. It's a long one. Is that the longest? I'm not sure.
It is the longest of the franchise of the 55, 56 years. Wow. Yeah, 55. So The question is, what are you feeling like? What is it going to need to make it actually worth fully sitting through a 2 hour and 47-minute movie? Because what is its elements going to need?
Yeah, I really don't know anything about filmmaking, so I'm not really sure how to take it that far. If you've got enough of a story to tell, I mean, look at the Lord of the Rings movies. There's 3 of them, and when you buy, the extended editions are over 4 hours long, but you don't feel like you're sitting there for 4 hours. I mean, if you're really into those films, you don't really feel like you're sitting there for 4 hours. So, as long as they keep the action going and stuff, you're going to get Bond fans in those seats. I mean, you're probably going to get people that would love to see 4 hours or 5 hours. I mean, as much screen time as you can get out of that. People are going to want it. So, but yeah, I hope it doesn't. I hope they're not shooting for a time and then make it draw out. I hope there's, hey, we've really got 5 hours. We're going to have to try to cut it down to this. It's better when you've got more and they condense it than if they don't have enough and then they, and it's a bunch of fluff.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. I know when we were at the point when we were they were filming it, it didn't seem like they were filming that long. Maybe it was just because of all the delays we had, and from, of course, Carrie came on so late after Danny Boyle departed, and it just seemed like they weren't filming that long. But again, they kept it so secret for such a long time.
Yeah, and it depends on how quickly you get through stuff, I think. Like I read that with as much screen time as she got in Skyfall, I read that Judi Dench only took 3 days to film all her scenes. So think about how much she's in that film, and a woman her age, and knocked it all out in 3 days.
Yeah, which that's
pretty impressive. Yeah.
Oh, it is. I wish I could do something like that, to be frankly honest.
So, the length may be, you got all this kind of the same people coming back. You probably get a good chance, depending on how professional they are and how quickly they get the job done.
True. That's absolutely true. Should we jump into the big rumors aspect and see what what your opinions are?
Go ahead.
Okay. Rami Malek's Safin being Dr. No.
I hope not. Yeah. It could be. I know apparently the mask he wears is called a no mask, an NOH mask. I hope not. I don't like when they try to rehash old characters, and they already did it with Blofeld. I would prefer that Malek is not Dr. No. At this point, I would say 50-50. I would say there's definitely a chance.
Your thoughts on, of course, Christoph Waltz is back as Blofeld. What do you want to see from that?
He doesn't look like he has a really big part. It almost looks like he gets consulted for part of it, and it's almost maybe just a cameo. I mean, the other guy, Rami Malek, has been cast as the villain, so I can't believe that Christoph Waltz is getting a big fair shake in this. And I think he's probably, I think when you spoke to Ray, he was talking about a Hannibal Lecter type of character. I agree with that. I think he's probably right there.
Yeah, I could see kind of. It'll be interesting. Like I said before, we have 2 hours and 47 minutes of runtime now.
Right.
So, and Carrie said about Rami's character, he's bigger than Spectre.
Could be. I'm wondering if the way they set the characters, if Safin is like actually a Blofeld or former Blofeld disciple that he is they're consulting him because he has some history with the guy.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if anyone's seen Silence of the Lambs. Of course, we know Blofeld, not Blofeld.
Oh,
Hannibal Lecter, he escapes. I'm wondering if that's what's going to happen, and Blofeld will be at large the remainder of the movie, and we just won't see him, or he dies, or something. But
maybe he could get away as a I don't know. One of those scenes almost looks like they're infiltrating a prison. So in the clip, so yeah, very very possible. You could also have a rival situation. Blofeld could be getting out to get at Safin, or he's taken over Spectre, or he's Blofeld doesn't like it. I don't know. You could end up with Bond and Blofeld on the same side.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It could be a Austin Powers at Goldmember situation. You're right.
Right.
Yeah. And I can't believe I just went there, but
yeah, you can't.
We never know.
Yeah, I like when they come up with a new villain every time. So I'm hoping it's not Dr. No, but who knows? I don't write the movies, right?
All right. And we never know. It could either kill the franchise or make the franchise going. So let's just hope it doesn't.
I think you'd really have to do a lot to kill a franchise that's lasted for that long, because there's been some movies that were not so hot.
Yeah, I hear you.
Over the years, and it still survives. So it's extremely resilient. I think the only way Bond movies are going to die out is if they just decide we're tired of making these.
Yeah. All right, bud. Before we wrap up, I thought I would ask you one little major question, and then we'll jump into some lightning fire to wrap it up.
Sure.
Which direction do you want to see Eon go after Daniel Craig's departure?
Wow. I like a more mission-based traditional Bond. He gets his mission from M. He goes out on assignment. I'm not a fan of constantly rebooting things. So I actually hope it's not a reboot. If it is, it's more of kind of a soft reboot like they did with Casino Royale. They didn't really get into some huge backstory. So that would be fine with me. And a different style of actor. I like all of the different actors, and I like them because every time a new guy comes in, it's a little different. So this guy's more suave. This guy's more of a brute. Right. This guy's a little bit of a balance. Dalton was more of an angry Bond. Roger Moore was more of a lighthearted Bond. So I like how they changed that. So I hope whoever they bring in has a different style, and keep it fresh.
Yeah, that's good outlook. I don't think a reboot is the right thing to do at this point. I think just doing this, stayed on the Daniel Craig timeline, but just add him from getting a mission from M's desk. No more Rogue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Getting a mission from M, flirting with Moneypenny, and then go off and do the mission and wrap it up that way. Yeah. All right, bud. Let's jump into those lightning fire questions now.
Right.
Favorite Bond game that tests Bond the most?
Game?
Yeah.
I haven't really played a lot of Bond games. You're talking about like video games and stuff?
No, I'm not. I'm talking about like, do you play Baccarat at all? If you're or blackjack or
Texas,
what's your?
Yeah, Texas Hold'em.
Okay.
I actually like that they replaced Baccarat with Texas Hold'em.
Why is that?
There's just more decision making and more head to head, and you're not just playing one other person, you're playing other people. So I thought it was fine. Baccarat was fine for the book, but I thought Texas Hold'em was a really good choice for the movie, just because there's more to it. I don't know if you've ever played Baccarat. Have you ever played?
Yeah, I've played it a couple times. Like, we have mini Bach.
Right.
And then we have, of course, when you go to like Vegas, you can find baccarat salons and
Right.
such, and I've sat in a baccarat salon and played mini bac many times. Do I enjoy it? Yes and no, because it is a slower paced game.
Right.
But at the same time, I prefer to play blackjack. It's more faster paced. You can actually interact with other people.
Right.
And then of course, Texas Hold'em, same way. You got to just be able to read their bluffs. It's just all skill, and you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them at the same time.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. So.
Favorite movie from the 6 James Bonds?
Oh wow, from all.
Or you can break it down by one at a time if you want.
Oh, I constantly watch Doctor No, so that's definitely my Sean Connery. Lazenby only has one, but it's a good one. Yeah, Roger Moore, probably For Your Eyes Only. Octopussy's a close second. Timothy Dalton, The Living Daylights. I think the License to Kill gets a little quirky sometimes. Pierce Brosnan, probably GoldenEye, and Casino Royale for Daniel Craig. Skyfall's close, but Casino Royale's pretty high up.
What made you start the Bond Brain?
Well, I saw people like Joe and David and stuff doing this kind of stuff, just even the podcasts, and I wasn't even thinking of gatherings or anything like Snowfall that occurred this weekend. Just kind of sitting down and doing what you and I are doing right now, just kind of talking about something we have in common and a common interest. So, I don't always know why I do things. Look like fun. And after being James Bond, Joe Darlington posted a video of how to podcast, and it was, basically how to get up and running. I thought, well, that's pretty easy. I'll take a shot. If nobody listens, nobody listens.
Oh, I enjoy your podcast. They're brief. They're very informative, and you touch on other aspects other than Bond. Like you've been doing a series that's aired on Bravo, correctly, just recently?
Spy Games.
Spy Games, yeah.
Like where they're yeah. Have you seen the show?
I have not, because I don't have cable downstairs. So
do you have Netflix?
Yes.
So there's a show on there that Matt from the James Bond Complex over the weekend turned me on to. It's very short. It's on Netflix. It's called Churchill Secret Agents.
Okay.
It's a very similar type of show, but they actually take these people through tests from World War II, in the World War II era. So basically what Fleming would have been involved in. So really, really cool. I've watched a couple episodes, and I'm going to get into that one on the podcast too. Yeah.
Very nice. I'm looking forward to that, because like I said, I love how brief your podcasts are. And, of course, most of them just drag out, and it's like they're either for commutes to work or but then you have to pause it. But
right.
When I'm out on the walk or anything for my daily exercise, I turn on yours because it's so brief.
I try to keep it quick. Yeah.
It's very informative, straight to the point. You do such a well job. So I'm going to say I enjoy yours very much.
Thank you.
Lastly, what's the future of the Bond Brain going forward?
I do want to do a little bit of YouTube. I really don't have a good place to do it, so I'm working on that right now. So the kids are grown; they're out of the house. They've surrendered the basement. So I'm in the process of moving my office from an upstairs first floor office down to the basement. I want to make a Bond area and try to do some more on the YouTube side. So then these games that I talk about, and then reinvestigate some of these baccarat, poker, and other games, and actually maybe get into maybe how to play, or maybe break down scenes of, here's why he hits here, doesn't hit here, those type of things. So I have that on tap, and we'll see how that goes.
And I wish you the best of luck on that.
Thank you.
So, Bud, I want to thank you again I know I hit you up about a couple months back, roughly when I first launched my page, and I know you roughly started
Oh, that was
the Bond.
October. Yeah.
Yeah, started the Bond brain just
Right.
freshly as well.
Right.
I'm glad we finally had the chance to talk.
Yeah, I'm sorry it took this long. Yeah, I have a very hot and cold job, and so I have to slow down sometimes.
Hey, no apologies, my friend.
Yeah.
Again, I appreciate you taking the time finally, and
Yeah, great to talk to you.
so I look forward to following up after No Time to Die and seeing what your thoughts were and seeing how that Bond cave turns out.
Yeah, yeah. Let me know. Stay in touch. Yeah, if you're ever on the East Coast, man, let me know. First round's on me.
Alrighty, I will hold you to that. And if I remember correctly, you're in Delaware, correct?
I'm in Delaware. Yeah, yeah, the
Yeah.
northern part, not about halfway between Philly and Baltimore. So,
Alrighty. Well, then I will definitely stay in touch. Yeah, because I gotta venture out that way sometime.
okay, great.
All right. For Brian Levesque, this is James Bond Aficionado. I will see you all next time. If you guys want to check out Bud West, I recommend you do. He's on iTunes at The Bond Brain and Spotify, The Bond Brain as well, and then Anchor, who distributes his podcast. Thank you, Bud, once again.
Thanks, man. Have a good night.
You too.